I'm Kareen. I am the community manager for Neo4J. So, you know, Ray is part of our community and Jen, so super fans. So give it up for them. Yay. So thank you guys all for coming. We're very excited to see what they have in store for us. I did want to let you guys know, I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with Neo4j or graph databases in general, but we're having our Graph Connect conference in New York City this year. It's usually in San Francisco and London. It happens twice a year, once in each place. And this is going to be the first year that we're going to be doing it in New York on October 23rd and 24th. And I got the marketing manager to approve a 50% off discount for this group. For if you get a ticket this week, though, it ends this week. So the code is I love graphs. I love graphs. And it's graphconnect.com. You'll probably be able to find it if you look up Neo4j. If you guys have any questions for me afterwards, before, not during, feel free to come and say hello. And we also have another community member from Neo4j that wanted to just share something really quick. And then we can get started after. Thank you.
Thanks, Kareen. My name is Benjamin Leff. Yeah, really quickly.
Just I said I'll be quick.
I'll also be quick. I am the co-founder and CEO of a new company called Pluvio. We're creating a real-time personalization engine that's interactive. We just closed our seed round with Alibaba as our lead investor, and we're looking for a lead data scientist. 10 plus years of experience. Hopefully you have experience in production with either Neo4j or a real-time recommendation engine. So if you're interested, come talk to me afterward. We'd love to hear from you.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Leah Nicolai. I'm the Director of Program Operations at Metis. This is Siobhan Hanlon, the Marketing Manager at Metis. Metis is a data science training organization. We have offerings that are our 12-week boot camp. That's an immersive boot camp. There are some people in the audience that have done that and that are currently there. I won't point anybody out, but you know who you are. And then we do professional development courses, which are part-time, both in person and recently live online, and corporate training. And then in September, on September 27th, from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m., we have a free online conference called Demystifying Data Science. And that's 25 industry-leading speakers. It's online, free. You're not required to do the whole 12 hours. You can hop in and hop out as you please. But there's postcards over by the food and beverages around the Demystify Data Science Conference, and I encourage you to pick one up. Cool, I'll pass it off.
Nice warm round of applause for the lovely young ladies here. Thanks very much for attending this meetup. I'm very impressed in terms of the turnout. I'm very honored to have you here. Just hook up this mic. All right, welcome to Data Science in Practice. This is really going to be in practice. We're going to be importing data from Facebook and visualizing it. So it's going to be pretty exciting. Everyone deserves a SuperFan. So we provide unique technologies that drive traffic to live events via social media. That's what we do in core. That's what SuperFans is good at. So here's the agenda that I'm going to be reviewing today. I'm going to go through introductions, a little bit about the company story. We're going to review our technology stack. I'm going to explain why data science is important. I'm going to look at some of the elements of data science and how it relates to our domain or use case. And then we're going to look at some of the technical requirements for running and importing events via Facebook. And we're going to present that through D3 and through Alchemy as well. Then I'm pretty excited about this because this represents the first release of, oops, got my Facebook popping up there. Sorry about that. It's going to be, this represents the first release of 2 applications into open source by SuperFan. So I'm pretty excited. It's going to help you as an end user or developer take this code, as is, plug it into your application, and import events and present that through D3 very easily. So I'm pretty excited about that. Jen here will demo those applications. That'll be presented at GitHub, and we'll be happy to answer any questions that you guys have regarding that. All right, and then we're going to talk about a few next steps that we'd like to see. This is a little bit about my education and background. I am founder of SuperFan. I've been doing this for about a year. I used to have short hair, but yeah. So I've been, pretty much, developing our application for that time. I've worked in the past for Digital Equipment Corporation. As a consultant on their team. We got acquired by Compaq a few years ago. I've also had the opportunity to work for Iceland, then worked for about 2.5 years at EMC Corporation. I did work for Inmaj, which is a small company basically doing cloud replication. They were acquired by Azure. I did study at Columbia and actually taught there for about a year. And did study at NYU. And let me introduce the team. I don't want to talk too much about myself, but this is Sai. He's our bot. He makes everything possible. We've programmed Sai to have built-in promoter techniques to help really drive folks to live events.
Not literally. We're
not literally. Thanks. Don't worry, she likes to jab at me once in a while, but it's okay. So, by working with Sai, it's like hiring like a PR person or marketer to, constantly market your campaigns to drive people to your live events. Right now, I started this, my use case because I'm a musician, and I needed to figure a way to, fill up a room fairly quickly, and I'm also a technologist, and I figured a way how to, make this all work. And I'm going to present to you exactly what we do. We're not exactly open to the public. So we're a pre-funded startup. We have not released, a product just yet. We're about 2 months away, 3 months away. So some of this stuff, I can't go into a lot of depth, but I'll be happy to answer as many questions as I can. Here's the team again. So I won't go through all of it, but Jen, if you want to introduce yourself, you're more than welcome to.
Yep, my name is Jen Webb, and I have over 10 years experience in web development, primarily as a front-end developer, but in the last couple of years I've started getting into Python and Neo4J, and was really excited when I met Ray and we had this idea to merge our two passions. We're both musicians as well as being into technology, so this is the perfect merging of our two passions.
Yep. Thank you very much, Jen. All right, I'm also a leader of the Cosmic Blues Band. I've given you guys tickets to come watch us perform on Friday. It's going to be a pretty good show. So it represents like a move into the big room. It's about 1,000-seat venue, so I'm pretty happy about that. So I need everyone in this room to come out and support. So I don't know if you guys know BB King's, but it's one of the premier clubs here in New York for live music. And it's been open since 2000, and a lot of famous people have played there. Aretha Franklin, James Brown, Alicia Keys, the Allman Brothers. You can read the rest. So I started off playing there actually at Lucille's, which is a smaller 120 capacity venue, about 2 years ago, okay? And I had a big show for my birthday party, and it turned out to be pretty successful because I'm a pretty good promoter. And as a result, I was given a residency to play live blues every week. And I did that for 3 months there. And these are some of my past events that I've had at BB King. And I've been pretty successful at bringing people to watch us play. And as a result, and I really need, and what I did was I wrote, some scripts that really reached out to my fan base and personalized them to, really attract them to the events that I have. And so these are just some of the images of some of our past events. That's Alan Merrill, actually. He wrote I Love Rock and Roll, and I'm there saying hi to people in the hat there. Where's my clicker? Should be using this. I just bought this. Let's see if this works. Alrighty, it'll turn on in a second. There we go. All right, that's me right there. And that's Alan. It's another event. Okay, so I decided that I was going to really primarily market and focus on Facebook, because Facebook, really is, in my opinion, in terms of eventing, the biggest gorilla in the room. Okay, they have over 550 million people who use these events every month. 40% of that are people with public events. Excuse me about that. Just got this clicker, so just getting used to it. And so it really dawned on me to really, leverage, my eventing software on Facebook exclusively for the time being. So this is what SuperFan does. So what is SuperFan? What do we do? Okay, SuperFan uses unique technologies to drive fans to social media, to live events via social media. We do it in a very personalized, very active, and thoughtful way at scale. We also do some analytics to discover who the superfan is, who that maven is, because we know that if we discover the person who is that superfan, they'll attract other people to join the event. And so it's very important to identify those people. So superfan saves an event promoter or marketer 10 to 20 hours of work of social media work a week. I used to spend that much time just reaching out to folks on Facebook when I was first starting out. Spent a lot of effort, and hence, invention is the mother of necessity. Necessity is the mother of invention, what have you. And so SuperFan, what does it actually do? It can actually grow your social network automatically by creating relationships with your fans at scale. So we can also look at past events and target, a very similar fan base. And we reach out to that fan base via email, instant messaging, and SMS. This is very effective. So what can you do for superfans? Well, we're looking at, build out a core team. I've been working on this project for about a year, and we really want to launch in a big way. We're looking for a full stack Python developers, a data scientist, some Neo4J devs, cloud admin, potentially some business development people. I mean, right now I'm playing all these roles. So I need some folks to help join the team. If you're an investor, let's talk a little bit later. Here's some of my results that I actually achieved at BB King's. This is after 5 months of beta testing. So on the left here, these are folks that were interested in the event. These are 3 events. Okay, and I started running my initial version of SuperFans, and as you can see, with the first event and the second event actually grew more and more, and it actually grew remarkably to 173% from when it started. So that's a really proof that it works. Let's take a look at the technology stack that I've built SuperFans on. Firstly, it's virtualized. We've built on Docker virtualization technology. We built SuperFans here at DigitalOcean. We use Ubuntu with an Nginx server. And of course, we sit on top of Neo4J. That's really, how would I say? When I first started researching this and I wanted to work with Facebook, I was asking myself, what's the best database possibly to kind of set up to work with my current domain? And I found out, and I didn't know at the time, but graph databases was really the way to go because of the way it works with the domain. And I'll explain a little bit later in the future slide in terms of why it's such a good fit. Some of the languages that we use, Python, JavaScript, jQuery, CSS, and HTML. And of course, we present our visualizations through D3. Excuse me. This is what the cloud looks like. And so what happens is that a promoter would come in here, they would log into Facebook, okay? We would store the credentials, information in the graph database, and put that into our cloud, store that long-term in Neo4j. We have a web server farm here, and we have something called a cell core that actually does all of the hard work, all of the heavy lifting that is required to send messages, email, and SMS to our fan base. And I actually use Neo4J to orchestrate all of this. So pretty amazing, because when I first started working in IT, it was a very difficult task to really scale your infrastructure along with the demands of your application. Extremely hard, right? But Neo4j makes it really easy, because I can start creating these relationships and nodes and bring them online once when the application requires more resources. It comes on, and I can store that information in Neo4j and bring that online. Sorry for the redundancy here. As you know, we've chosen DigitalOcean because of the ease of use. It's very fast to set up droplets, just a click and set up. DigitalOcean has extremely easy to read documentation. It assumes nothing. So as a beginner, you can kind of, establish a presence in DigitalOcean and really, create an infrastructure that follows best practices very easily. They also provide a great API, and so I leverage the DigitalOcean API to access my droplets along with Python to provision my, my infrastructure. So we do that from an orchestration perspective. We're not going to really get into how that works. We could save that for another talk. This represents my presence here in DigitalOcean. So I've hidden the IP, so you can't go ahead and try to hack me. So we're built on Dockers and Ubuntu. We leverage Docker technology. Very, very unique in terms of, you don't need to really build physical servers anymore. You can bring up these, containerized virtual machines within the droplet. Very, very easy to and fast to deploy. So, again, this slide represents, the popularity of graphs. All these companies were built on graph technology. Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, PayPal, Amazon, Monster. Here's a great reference from eBay expounding some of the performance capabilities of Neo4j. Read that yourself. So they've seen 1,000 times improvement in terms of performance and ease of use and reduction of how much code they need to produce. Reason I chose Neo4j is because you can go from your ideas in terms of what you're trying to accomplish and quickly create a database that's specific to your domain. There's lots of help to get started. Neo4j makes it very, very easy to get up and running on their platform. There's great documentation. They're a leader in the marketplace, and they have a very great, strong community. Let's talk a little bit about the property graph here. This represents, a fundamental property graph. It's very easy. It's basically nodes, and there's a relationship, and there are key value pairs between the nodes and the relationships. So you can, if you think about, node being a noun and an adjective being the key value pair, and the verb being the relationship, and along with pointing with the other node, it's pretty easy to kind of make up, your own, property graph example. In this case, I chose an event, the Cosmic Blues Show, and as you can see, Jane has RSVP to the Cosmic Blues Show, and so I can kind of represent all of this relationship very simply. So Jane is a music lover, a blues lover in particular, and her status is going. And this is the date of the Cosmic Blues Show. So you can be very descriptive in terms of the properties that you put in here. And Neo4j makes it very easy to kind of search and understand these properties versus, say, if you try to put a relationship database to do this work, it becomes very difficult, and it really bogs down the system. So this is why Neo4j can perform 1,000 times faster doing these type of calculations than a normal RDMS type system. Yeah, so I'm not a data scientist, but I know that data science is very important in terms of my domain. Some of the things that I want to learn is how to predict my returning RSVPs, how to identify network influencers, how to identify communities within my social network, and how do I ultimately discover my superfan. And I think data science can really bring all of this to life for me. So, graph theory, it has been around for a while. And by using graph theory, I think we can kind of start answering a lot of those questions I had in the formal slide. So here's a slide called Measures of Centrality. And really it focuses on individual nodes, and it counts just the number of edges. And here's a node, and the edges are these things here, right? The number of relationships, right? So you can think, like, the nodes with greater amount of degrees or edges coming into them happen to have more influence on the network, right? So in my case, it would be maybe someone attending multiple events. And if they attend multiple events and have a high degree of centrality in terms of attendance, then I know they're a super fan and they really like the events that I put together. And so I should focus my marketing on people who want to participate versus people who are uninterested. So another important concept for me is this concept of betweenness centrality. All right, and this is basically how many times a node has to go through another node in terms of the shortest path. Okay, so in other words, it identifies the nodes that, well, it gives sort of measure to nodes and a number to nodes in terms of the amount of times another node needs to pass to find its shortest path to another node. In other words, see, H has a higher degree of betweenness centrality than A. Simply because a lot of these nodes have to kind of pass through H, and H becomes a gatekeeper. So it's very important for me to understand who these gatekeepers are in my network so that I can cater to them and I can actually grow my network because of that. And data science will help me find this out in our network. There's actually a Python package that you can use with Neo4J to make these calculations. Pretty interesting stuff. You can actually learn more about this through Dr. Derek Green. I actually have a link at the end. He has a very thorough presentation. I highly recommend it. The other thing that I want to understand in terms of my network and people I invite is really, where are the clicks? Where are these people who know everybody, right? Because I think if I can find these clicks within my network, I know that if we influence them, they're going to help drive attendance for me. And so this is an example of how you would use Network X to look at clicks. So this is another thing that's pretty important. Google uses this in terms of page ranking. So basically, the eigen centrality metric actually measures how influential a node is, and it gives a number to it. So and this is pretty important to me because I really want to understand, who's really the bigger influence in the network. So it uses a bunch of other scoring techniques to get to that number. So I think in that combination, well, this is pretty interesting. The triadic closure helps me actually to predict something really useful. In other words, I want to predict, if people are going to come to my event, right? And I can actually use data science to do this. And simply, I'm just going to give you a real-world example. If you know two friends and you have a very strong bond and relationship with them and you call them on a daily basis, the probability of them meeting at some point is very high. It's pretty remarkable. It becomes very predictable. And you can use this principle to predict relationships that are going to occur in the future. And so this is a technique that I believe we will be leveraging quite substantially. The other concept in terms of triadic closure, which is really interesting, if you're like in the job market, you may want to apply this type of technique. Simply, generally, most people find employment not really in their inner circle, but someone outside of the circle. And the reason why is because people within your inner circle have the same access to resources, the same skills. And so if you want to find new opportunity, you have to go out of that network and find a new network. And local bridges actually help us find these new networks. Okay, so finding the local bridge will help also increase attendance for my events. And so this is why I think this is important. So okay, enough of that. Let's do some Python coding. Today, we're actually going to look at getting some real-world data from Facebook and importing that into Neo4J for data visualization. We're going to go through 2 examples. The first example, we're going to look at Alchemy VS, which is actually sits on top of D3. Okay, and then example number 2, we're just going to use D3 force layout to render our Facebook data. All examples will be placed on GitHub. So here's some of the prerequisites to setting up this lab. You can set up digital Neo4j anywhere, but I prefer to keep Neo4j on DigitalOcean. What you're going to do is download our project, and then you're going to need to go to developers.facebook.com and register for account and create an application. And you can follow the steps. We have pretty detailed instructions on how to do all this on our GitHub. From a technical requirement perspective, we're Linux. The operating system is Linux. We use Python 3x. We leverage Flask as a micro framework to present our visualization through D3, excuse me. And of course, we leverage Neo4j 3.x. So as I mentioned before, we've developed 2 tools that will help you, import these events from Facebook into Neo4j. We've also developed a tool that we can convert the data that Neo4j gives you and convert that into data that is in the format that D3 wants and also that Alchemy JS requires. So of course, it's open source. We're releasing this today, actually, and it's on the MIT license. So you can freely use this in your own applications without having to do a lot of work. So the first thing to do in terms of connecting, the first thing that you want to do in terms of connecting Neo4j is set up your client. And in Python, it's a simple operation of just doing a pip install, Neo4j driver, and that'll get all the binaries onto the system. Let's take a quick look in terms of how do I connect to Neo4j. This is it's pretty easy. You just import. Once you load the drivers, you just import the module, and this is the class, the graph database, along with another module, if you will. And just you set up the driver along with the location of where Neo4j lives. So you put in the IP address, and you put the username and password here. Okay, you instantiate the session. And the way this works, we're actually leveraging the bolt driver. And the way this works is you can actually pass your query. This is a Cypher query in Neo4j. And what it says, it basically looks at the relationship from my Facebook guest to the event. And then it queries this relationship to bring and filter out the event that has this particular user ID that we're going to pass, that we're going to import. It's actually missing an import of that, but that's okay. And then we're going to set the user, the relationship status to attending, and that gets passed along with the parameters, along with the query into the session, and that obviously communicates with Neo4j. So that's how it's set up. It's pretty easy. So okay, let's pull an event from Facebook. Before we do that, there's a few things that if you want to do something manually, you have to get the ID of the event, right? You record that, and then what you're going to do is inside of the inside of Facebook for developers, you're going to create a token for yourself. You're going to generate the token, and then you're going to it's just 3 simple steps. The URL is right there. All right, within the application, we've created this application, and there's one file called run get Facebook event. And you would actually, at the bottom here, just put the ID and your full token. And the way you run this application is just Python 3 run get Facebook data. And that'll pull all the data for the events in question into Neo4j. The way we get data from Neo4j into Neo4j from Facebook is we leverage the request object. It's a very popular package. It's part of actually the standard library in Python. And we also leverage JSON. And so here, what we're doing is we're calling, well, let me use this actually. We're calling the Facebook API, as you can see. We're passing the Facebook event ID. We're passing the token. And we're making that request, and we're receiving data that we're going to actually convert into a dictionary. Once we convert that to a dictionary, then we can work with it within Python. And here I'm pulling out these properties: the name, the ID, the description, the start time of the event. And then what I'm doing here is I'm putting that back. I'm actually putting that into Neo4j through this query that I've developed here, the merge. Okay? And that's how we're pulling in. This is absolutely available to you to play with. Just figured we go through some of those components. Okay, let's get ready for data visualization. Before we do that, there's a little bit more work that we need to do, but we're doing all this automatically within the application. Okay, so you have to convert Neo4j data to GraphJSON, and that's going to work with Alchemy JS, one of the applications. The other application, we're just going to talk straight D3. So you have to actually convert it into this format that D3 understands. So we provided the code to do both of these things. And
this is a Python script that converts the Neo4j data into the JSON that's required by D3 and Alchemy.
That's absolutely correct. Thank you for that clarity. All right, so I think I'm going to stop here, and I'm actually going to have Jen show you the application that we've developed and walk you through how to use it. And maybe you can manually import an event and show Neo4j.
Okay, so we have built a couple of applications that we've put on open source, just simple stuff that you can play around with later. And oops. Anyway, so the first one is going to, for a visualization in Alchemy JS. What is Alchemy? Alchemy JS is a graph drawing. Got some soundtracks, some nice soul music. It's a graph drawing application based on D3. And what's great about it is you don't need to know a lot of code to use it. It's mostly configuration based. And it can also be customized with JavaScript functions. So I'll get started with the application. So we like to use PyCharm for an IDE. I'm going to run my application. Now, Ray talked about the part where you need to set up a Facebook app on Facebook. So if you're running it locally, you have to put the URL in the settings for the app. You can't use localhost. It has to be an IP address. So with that, and we start out with a simple login screen. And this is based on the Flask Facebook SDK with Flask example. And so we sign in. And if this is the first time you're signing in, it would have a little window asking you for permissions to use the app. And we only ask for the public profile. but you could configure it in another way. So let's get started importing an event. Let's choose something totally random, like, I don't know, data science in practice, import and visualize Facebook data. So you just copy and paste your Facebook URL into this little web form we've built and import. And here's your Alchemy JS visualization. It's very cute looking. And I'll show a couple more events. Also randomly chosen so that we can see the connections between these two events. And if you remember, these were the events that were posted in the meetup group that Ray invited you to join randomly so that we could use them in our visualization here. So different things that you can do with Alchemy is that you can assign node types and edge types to your data in the graph JSON in order to map different styles. So in this case, I've mapped guests and events as different node types. And for Facebook events, so I've attached jQuery. And I've done this in the afterload part of the afterload is where you can put a callback function. And I've written some jQuery that shows up the Facebook information when you click on each node. And here, let me see if I can. I don't want to embarrass anyone, but like there's people who's attending the events here. And it shows the Facebook picture, and there's also a link where you could click to look at their Facebook profile if you want to creep. So yeah, if we want to creep Ben a little bit, we can just click on this link here, and it opens up, and hey. But anyway, so what's great about this is you can see the betweenness centrality of the people who are attending multiple events. And hey, who's that? So it also shows a list of the relationships here. And I'm a person who really loves having these objects print out in the console. So I've left the console logs in there so we can look at, this is what a node looks like. And you can call on these properties with JavaScript in order to, in this case, I've output the information over here in this little info box. But you can do pretty much anything. So, and that's, yeah. So I'm going to talk for a sec before I move on to the D3. I'll just talk about Alchemy versus D3. I'm jumping ahead because I put the slides in the wrong order, but Alchemy is great because it's simple to set up. You don't need a lot of code knowledge, and you get a lot of out-of-the-box features already built in. And it's ideal for smaller sets of data. There's less options to customize, whereas D3, on the other hand, is more flexible. There's more functionality. It's highly customizable, especially for experts. And there's lots of documentation and support online in the community, and it's better for larger sets of data and better performance. And you also have the ability to use other kinds of charts besides the forced layout. And this is the forced layout. It's the one that we're focused on today. And this is the famous one. It's built by Mike Bostock, who's the D3 guy, if you don't know. And all right, so let's go to the D3 application. And first I gotta stop running this one and go to the D3. And for this purpose, here's my Neo4J database that I've been using on DigitalOcean. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just, so this is the data that we were importing into Neo4J just now that we saw in Alchemy. And for the next demo, I'm just going to wipe this out so that we can start fresh. And log out. And that happened because I stopped running the application before I logged out. Now we're going to run the D3 version. And so I'm still technically logged in on Facebook. So we'll do the same thing, importing the events. And so here's your visualization, and it's much nicer looking, a little prettier. And I've used the colors to identify the different types of relationships between guest and event. So the interested or unsure, as it's called in the back end of Facebook, they're in orange, and then the going is in green. And we didn't invite anybody, so there's no replies. And I'll just do the same with the next two. So these two projects are available on GitHub. And I see we're kind of starting to run out of time here. So I'm going to jump into, please feel free to clone these projects, play around with them. There's lots of different things that you can do. We've kept it pretty simple, so it's easy to build on top of. But yeah, in this one, again, I've done some jQueries to show the information about the nodes. And so we'd like to play a little bit of a game. Can I get a volunteer from the audience, please?
Hey,
You.
Come on up.
I don't know your name. What's your name, sir?
Micah.
Micah, hi, welcome. So I'd like you to click on, first of all, just for coming up here and volunteering, you've won 2 free tickets to the Cosmic Blues Band.
He has them already.
Okay, but we're also going to let you come backstage.
All right.
So
If you can make it.
Yeah.
that would.
Cool.
So how are we going to do that? Can we write his name down somewhere?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, okay, we can do that. So I'd like you to click on one of the blue nodes.
All right.
Justin Moore. Is Justin Moore here today? Justin, come on up. You are the next winner. Thank you very much, Micah.
All right.
All right, so you've won 2 free tickets to the Cosmic Blues Festival. See, he went and gave them all away. But you get to also get a VIP backstage pass.
Yeah, you come backstage.
So talk to us after, and we'll get your name down and make sure that you can get backstage on Friday. Oh, one more thing. You're not done yet. We need you to pick another one of the blue nodes. All right, Michael Buell. Is Michael Buell here? Going once.
All right.
All right, pick one more, please. Amit Tosin. Amit Tosin. Well, he said he was going. All right, it's right here. That's okay. All right, so I think we're finished now with our presentation. But thank you all very much for coming out. And we'd like you to play around with the code. And please reach out to us if you have any questions or if you...
Yeah, let's just wrap it up for a minute. I just wanted to show you a few more slides in terms of
Sure thing.
resources that is available here.
We also have these slides. We're going to make them available. So especially the ones that you didn't get to see, we're going to be posting a link to download the whole presentation in the meetup group later.
So we do have a bunch of links that are going to be helpful for you. If you don't know very much about Python, this will get you up to speed in terms of what you need to know. If you don't know much about the Flask micro framework, this is a really good resource for you. We also have an excellent resource from Neo4J and all of the 3 resources that you need. All of this is going to be published on GitHub. So we'll have this, actually we're going to email, or rather publish that on our Google Drive and distribute an email.
Slides, yeah.
The slide deck, okay? So you'll have access to all of this. Thank you very much. I mean, Karen, do you want to say a few words in closing? We really do appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Great job, everyone. Give them a round of applause. And I don't know if you guys want to do like question and answer too. I think that would be nice. I did want to just really quick, one more thing with like the Graph Connect stuff. I don't know if you guys have used graph databases before, and if you haven't and you love it and you want to play around, aside from the resource that he gave you, you can go on Sandbox, like the Neo4J Sandbox. If you Google it, you'll find it. There's a bunch of like uploaded data in there. You can literally play around without downloading anything and just kind of like see how you like it and play with the Cypher queries and all that stuff. And then Graph Connect's also going to be really cool. We have like, I mean, for those who don't know about Neo4j, some of the biggest companies in the world are clients of ours, like NASA and Walmart and I don't know, there's a bunch, HP and Microsoft, eBay. So we're gonna have a lot of speakers from like our current customers talking about what they're doing in use cases and stuff. It's gonna be good for all levels. So you should definitely check that out. And I Love Graphs is the code. And does anybody have any questions? Some questions? No? Okay. Okay.
You can always email us if you have any questions later. Thank you very much. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks very much. I appreciate that. That's it. Have a great night.
I posted the slides in the meetup group.
Thank you.